Hello everyone. Today I will be discussing an essay written by Dr. Aditya Kumar Panda on language attitudes of translation. I have created a PPT to develop the talk further. So language attitudes is part of your translation theory and practice syllabus. It comes under Unit 3. So whose attitudes are we talking about? We are talking about translators' attitudes. The language attitudes, different attitudes may vary and how it can impact translation. Okay, so why translation becomes challenging sometimes? Because translation from source language to target language can have some culture-specific words. And in order to translate those culture-specific words, we need a very good understanding of the source language culture and also the target language culture. Now, so language is not made in vacuum. Language represents a culture. Language represents people's behaviors, opinions, and we use the language in a society to communicate the opinions of our mind, the thoughts of our mind. And translating languages not merely involves looking for equivalent words in the target language. It is much more than that. When we do not have the equivalent words available in the target language, we can import words in the source language, from the source language to the target language, so that meaning is not lost. And in order to give effective meaning, the meaning of the words can be written in parentheses, can be written as additional notes. So, how does this importing happen and when does it happen? So this language importing, the words that represents meaning and language represents culture. So importing of one word from source language into the target language happens when there is no equivalent meaning in the target language. And this challenge is not only just confined to a linguistic challenge, but it is a subjective challenge. It is a challenge to represent a culture. It is depending on on many factors of language attitudes, the attitude of the translator, whether to give emphasis to source language, whether to give emphasis to target language. All many factors are involved, in deciding whether to import a word from source language to the target language. So exactly what is an attitude, language attitude? So language attitude is the influencing factor. What does it influence? It influences the choice of words. It influences the decision of the translator whether to import word from source language to the target language. So as I said, what is the depending factor and when does the importing of words happen from source language to target language? So it happens when the translator feels that, the growth of the target language should not be confined. It should not be limited. At that time, the translator may feel that, importing words from source language is not a good idea. On the other hand, when the translator feels that the growth of the source language should be more, then the translator can import words from the source language. The slide reads the same. Okay, so both the process is not wrong. Whenever the translator is influenced by this parameter, by this decision, that whether to give emphasis to the target language, whether to make it more prominent, more influential, or whether to show the emphasis of source language. So when we are giving emphasis to source language, then we are also giving emphasis to that culture in which that language is spoken. And when we are giving emphasis to target language, it means that we are giving emphasis for the culture representing the target language, or the language that represents that target culture. So it also depends on the audience. Who is that audience that which are going to who are going to read us, who are going to read the translated word? Another depending factor is the agency or the patron or the financer. Who is the supporting agency? Who is the patron? Which is the institution that is translating the job? Who is translating the source language or the to the target language? Now, whether to domesticate the translation or whether to foreignize the translation is also another attitude of the translator, which is again depending on the magnitude of audience, on the type of audience, whether it is a global audience or whether it is a domestic audience. So, as I said, what kind of mindset, what kind of politics the funding agency is having in order to translate, in order to support the translation project, also influences the translator's choice of words, also influences the translator's attitude of translating from source language to a target language. And there is also involvement of major language or a minor language. So the major language is mostly supported by a large group of people, or by majority of people representing a particular culture, a particular society. Whether to popularize a minor language, a minor regional language, or whether to give more emphasis to a major language. These are the various factors that are associated with the choice of the translator, with the attitude of the translator. Okay. Now, this is a quote by Milroy, who was a linguist. So, language attitudes are dominated by powerful ideological positions. Now, any institution, any government agency, any funding agency, any private organization who feel that there should be a more popularity of the minor language will definitely influence the translator's decision in importing words from the source language, from the minor language to target language. Now, language is mostly used in a political discourse. We use language to express our opinions, give our, share our opinions, give our messages to the community, to different communities, to different societies. So the political position that the translator is going to have in order to whether to popularize a particular language, whether it is target language or the source language. These factors are dependent on the political position of the institution, of the funding agency, of the patron of translation, that project which is being funded, which is being supported. Now, language purism plays a very major role. Now, there could be certain languages, certain cultures who believe in maintaining language purism. For example, in Tamil culture, Tamil language is very much pure. There are uh, a lot of equivalent terms in English for their translation from Tamil to English. But equivalent words in Hindi or Bangla, Oriya, Gujarati, Marathi, or Kannada cannot be easily or readily found. So these languages mostly are oriented towards language liberalism. So as I said, when the government decides to support homogeneity of a particular language, that that will definitely influence the translator's decision in importing words or making the language more heterogeneous. But when the translator feels that the translator has to follow homogeneity, then the translator will, definitely try to maintain language purism. So it is all about, whether to give importance to the target language or the source language, whether to maintain language purism or liberalism. What kind of mindset, thought process is going on within a culture about minor languages and about major languages? What kind of mindset, what kind of politics or ideological position the government is taking? What kind of mindset or ideological position the funding agency is having? Whether to popularize a certain language or whether to overshadow the target language by using source language, or whether to overshadow the source language through the target language and trying to reach varied audience, or whether to popularize regional languages in India, regional cultures in India to a global audience. So in that case, source language, words from source language will be heavily important to English language, so that the culture of regional, uh, regional regions, different states can be known across the globe, across nations. So there are multiple factors influencing the translator's choice of words, translator's attitudes of translation, and translator's, uh, you know, task of translation can be uh, can be said to be governed by these influencing factors. That is the end of this talk. I hope this talk had made your understanding of language attitudes more simpler, better. Thank you.